Get you more reaction now. We speak to Thabisho Molelekwa, who's a spokesperson for the South African National Taxi Council. Thabisho, always a pleasure speaking to you. So the virus, we know, travels with and through people. Significant portion of our population use taxis. Is there any way that the taxi industry can better respond to this third wave?
Well, good evening, Faith, and thanks for receiving us. Indeed, you would have noticed that just 2 days ago, there was a visit, a high-powered ministerial visit to some of our taxi ranks in Pretoria, where, again, SANTACO President Thabisho made a call of commitment on the side of the industry to ensure that we comply, we mitigate, and we assist government to fight the virus. So what we just need to do is also to review and look into whether some of the measures that we've put in place are still applicable, are still strong enough to ensure that mitigation is consistent. We are, however, I must indicate, Faith, worried that commuters have lately been pushing drivers to choose between, making money and complying with the law. And this is a part that we will be dealing with in the next National Executive Committee as part and parcel of reviewing the measures that are currently in place, considering that we are now in the third wave.
If you're saying that commuters are not wanting to adhere to COVID-19 regulations, what response can the taxi industry possibly give to that? I mean, we understand that the taxi drivers need the commuters and the passengers for revenue taking. But if they're saying, no, we're not wearing the masks, and if you do not want my money, then I'll get off, what recourse is there for you guys? What can you possibly do to ensure that your lives are also protected during this time?
And this is a worrisome, indeed, this is a worrisome blackmail that our drivers are faced with, given that since lockdown started last year, the industry today has still not recovered fully from the impact of COVID. And you may find yourself, unless there is some intervention, drivers having to just carry commuters whether or not they comply. And this is why part of what we are doing is to review the whole measures that we've put in place. But importantly, part of the visit that was done, which again subsequently will be done by the leadership of the industry province-wide, with particular focus in Gauteng, is to educate commuters about, masking, is to educate and remind commuters about the dangers of not complying. But what we will not do, Faith, I must indicate, is to find ourselves being pointed at as a super spreader. That we will not tolerate, despite the consequences that they may come with.
Yeah, look, one must say that taxi drivers at this point are finding themselves between a rock and a hard place. As you say, if commuters are indeed refusing to adhere to COVID-19 regulations and you need their money, it looks as though you are going through some kind of a blackmail. So would it be possible, or is it even on the cards, to limit the number of commuters per taxi per ride?
Well, at the moment, legislation is clear on what capacity should be on taxis. I must indicate also that over and above the legislation, part of what we have done in SANTACO, we are in discussions with the Department of Transport on a device that we hope at some point will be installed in our taxis, and part and parcel of circulating and refreshing, oxygen inside the taxi, as part and parcel of intensifying compliance and ensuring that those in a taxi, whether it's 2 hours, whether it's 5 hours, continue to be healthy and protected and safe. But what is important also is the fact that at the moment I may not be able to say outright what are the measures that we're going to put in place, leaving that to the leadership of SANTACO that is planning an NEC meeting to discuss and decide exactly on that. But as I indicated, it is very important that we preserve lives. It's very important that we assist government to fight the virus. It is no use to pursue money at the expense of that, and this is why we want to engage robustly with the commuters as part and parcel of mobilizing them.
What does that engagement, Thabisho, look like? I mean, as you're saying, if they're saying we're not getting in your taxi if you do not let us not wear our masks or the likes, and we do not have to adhere to COVID-19 regulations, if you're saying you want to engage effectively with commuters, what does it look like? Are you going to say, you know what, it's either you wear your mask or you get off my taxi? What does that engagement actually mean for both the commuter as well as the driver?
Look, that would be the first step to say, for instance, either you get onto taxi fully compliant with COVID regulations or you don't. But the flip side of it that you may have a problem with is that on the street, drivers will be will be exposed and maybe tempted to break that rule on the basis that taxis struggle to get full, on the basis that commuters refuse to comply, and so that is why you need a balance of both. Obviously, that being the first that you have just mentioned, but we really do not want to see ourselves strengthening, rules in that way. We want to have a collaborative effort with the commuters to ensure that we pull together in surviving the storm.
Thabisho, we'll leave it there for now. Thank you very much. Thabisho Molelekwa, the spokesperson for the South African National Taxi Council. Just a reminder for you, 8 o'clock, that is when President Cyril Ramaphosa will be addressing the nation. We'll be giving you live coverage of that. And leading up to that hour of 8 o'clock, I'll be joined by my colleague, Shahan Ramkinsoon, and we're giving you more analysis as we stretch ahead for 8 o'clock.